Hello, welcome back to my channel with new story. Now let's start. Life has a strange way of surprising us when we least expect it. Sometimes the most incredible stories begin on the most ordinary days, when we're just going about our routines, completely unaware that the world around us is about to change. The day this story began was one of those days, a quiet morning filled with little more than the humdrum of life. I was on my way to work, sipping my coffee and listening to a podcast, utterly oblivious to the fact that I was moments away from becoming part of a story that would forever alter my perspective on courage, compassion, and the resilience of the human spirit. It started when I passed by a small, unassuming park on the edge of town, one that I had driven by hundreds of times without giving it a second thought. But that day, something caught my eye. A man frantically waving his arms in the middle of the street, his face etched with desperation. Instinctively, I pulled over, unsure of what was going on, but certain that something was terribly wrong. If you are enjoying my story, then subscribe to my channel and also share with your friends. Now came back to story. As I got out of my car, the man rushed toward me, his words tumbling out in a panicked torrent. "It's my daughter!" he cried. "She's missing! She was right here a second ago, and now she's gone!" My heart sank as I processed his words, the gravity of the situation hitting me like a ton of bricks. A child, lost or taken. It was the kind of nightmare scenario that you read about in the news, never imagining it could happen so close to home. Without hesitation, I grabbed my phone and called the police, relaying everything the man had told me. As we waited for them to arrive, a small group of bystanders began to gather, drawn by the commotion. It was amazing to see how quickly strangers came together, offering to search the area, ask questions, and do whatever they could to help. What followed was a flurry of activity as police officers, search dogs, and even a helicopter joined the effort to find the missing girl. Hours turned into an agonizing stretch of time as we combed through every corner of the park, calling out her name and hoping for any sign of her. But as the sun began to set, the hope that we would find her safe and sound started to waver. That's when something extraordinary happened, something that defies explanation and still gives me chills every time I think about it. One of the search dogs, who had been sniffing near a dense patch of trees, suddenly started barking furiously, pulling its handler deeper into the thicket. Everyone's attention snapped to the spot, and we rushed over, not knowing what we would find. As we pushed through the underbrush, there she was, a small, trembling figure huddled against the base of a tree, clutching a stuffed rabbit to her chest. She was dirty, frightened, and clearly shaken, but she was alive. The collective sigh of relief was palpable, and the girl's father broke down in tears as he held her tightly, whispering words of comfort and love. But as joyous as the moment was, it also raised more questions than answers. How had she ended up there? What had happened to her? And most importantly, was she truly safe now? The little girl, only 5 years old, was too shaken to speak at first, but eventually she began to share her story in fragments. She explained that she had wandered away from the playground, lured by the sound of what she described as beautiful music. She had followed it into the woods, where a man she didn't recognize had approached her. He had tried to grab her, but in a moment of sheer bravery, she had screamed and run as fast as she could, hiding until she felt it was safe to come out. As the story unfolded, the police began piecing together what had happened. They discovered footprints and tire marks near the edge of the park, leading them to believe that the man had planned to abduct her, but had been scared off by her screams. The thought of how close she had come to being taken was chilling, and it left everyone shaken. But what happened next was even more astonishing. In the days following her rescue, a local news station aired the story, and tips started pouring in from people who claimed to have seen a suspicious man in the area. One woman, in particular, provided a detailed description that matched the composite sketch released by the police. With her help, they were able to track down a suspect, a man with a history of similar crimes. His arrest was a moment of triumph for everyone involved, but it also served as a stark reminder of how vigilant we need to be in protecting our communities.